Hello everyone! Do you happen to notice anything different behind me? I pulled the Cinderella zinnias from the center bed, and it's been kind of an interesting experience now afterwards. So since I already showed you me pulling the zinnias on the back deck, I was like, how many times do you need to watch someone pull zinnias? So I went ahead and did these. And one thing I'm noticing I like is being able to see across the bed. Actually, let me take you over and show you. So usually when the zinnias are in here and once they get tall enough, I think the Cinderella zinnias I had in here probably were like 4-ish feet tall. I can't see anything that's happening back there. And I really like this view. So now I'm questioning all of my choices because I've always grown tall zinnias in the center bed. And I'm wondering if I do something shorter next year. But I don't know. We'll kind of see how I feel about that. Another thing I'm trying to decide is whether or not to go ahead and pull the petunias. My logical side says I should go ahead and do it because I'm probably going to pull them in a few weeks anyway, and might as well just kind of start with a fresh bed here for fall. The other part of me says that they haven't lasted this long ever in my garden. I think the preventative BT spray for budworms really helped. I mean, they're not as full and luscious as they usually are, but there are still flowers on them. So I don't really know yet if I'm going to pull them today or not. We'll see where the mood takes me. But what we're going to do today is a little fall makeover of the center bed with all of those plants right there. And I'm actually planning to do things a little bit differently this season. What I've done the last couple years is I've pulled everything from this bed and I've put bulbs in here for spring. But I haven't had the best luck. The first year, I think most of the bulbs came back. Last year, the majority of them rotted because we just get too much moisture here. I think more so in the early spring than over winter. So I'm not doing bulbs here at all next year. Any bulbs that I'm going to try are going to be all on the back deck. And here, I'm going to plant the plants that I just showed you and leave them up over the winter for two main reasons. One, so that any of the birds and wildlife can kind of feed on the seeds, and two, just to give some sort of visual interest out here. Even if all the plants are brown and dead in the winter, I think I'll like looking at the form of the plants because I really do still enjoy looking at dried flowers rather than just having nothing here. I don't know if I'm going to do that with any of the other beds, maybe potentially this one, which was supposed to be the native bed that I've got to figure out, but I know for sure I'm going to leave the plants in this bed. So now let me take you over to the table. I'll show you what I got, and then we'll start getting this bed planted up and transformed for fall. So there are already pollinators all over these flowers, which makes me happy because one of the hardest parts of me pulling the zinnias, even though they were absolutely covered in powdery mildew and all the branches were either broken or bending over horizontally, the bees and butterflies were still all over the zinnias. But now that I know I'm not just pulling them, but replacing them, I mean, plus my garden is still full of flowers, so I shouldn't feel that bad. But now I'm going to replace them with more plants so that I don't feel like I've really taken anything away from them. Also, I have my flannel on, even though it is a nice cooler than typical summer day, but it is still probably slightly too warm for me to be wearing flannel, but I had to dress for the theme of fall makeover. So let me go through and show you what I got. I got everything from, oh, do I need to water you? No, there's water in there. I gotta do something with this sage plant. Anyway, again, why things take so long in the garden. Everything I got here is from 2 garden centers in Chicago. We stopped by City Escape on the south side, and then where else did we stop by? We stopped by Adams and Sons and Daughters Garden Center over in the Humboldt Park area. So I forgot which I got where, but I do know everything that I got from City Escape was on sale for fall. But I just picked up another one of these echinaceas. So this is the, well, it says on the tag, Panama Red coneflower, but maybe this is just me. That does not look like Panama Red. I didn't even read the tag when I grabbed it, so I was getting it for this color. But to me, this just kind of looks like the typical coneflower, which is Echinacea purpurea. Trying to remember all the Latin names from my class. One thing that is funny, I'm taking the horticulture class on aesthetics and landscape design, and basically what I'm doing and what I have going on in this garden goes against the best practices that they've been talking about so far, which the 2 that they mentioned, the first one was stick to one color scheme or like a certain color scheme so that your garden's not chaotic, but my color scheme in this garden is all of the colors and a little bit of chaos, and I do love it. Also, all these flowers are very similar forms. It's all either blanket flowers, echinacea. I have some black-eyed Susans, so they're all the same form, like mounding plants. So again, you shouldn't do everything in the same shape, but this is what I like in my garden. So yeah, I have one of these echinacea. I think I got two of these. Yes, one of the ones right here. So these are Sombrero Salsa Red. Okay, these plants keep being called red. And maybe that one looks more red on camera. It looks very orange in person, but let me show you the tag. The tag looks much more red. They look so similar on camera, but I swear it looks more orange. But this might actually be right. Maybe they go from orange to red over time. But I got two of these. Then, let me make some space here. I got two of the black-eyed Susans, or Rudbeckia. These are going to go in the center just because they are a little bit taller. And then two more. Very, very quickly running out of space here. I need to actually start emptying out some containers back here before we leave. I have one of the blanket flower, and this one is Sunset Celebration. Really, really pretty, like deep orangey red color there. And then the last one's probably my favorite just because it's the cutest. But I did learn that these echinacea that have kind of the double blooms or the fluffy centers are not as good for pollinators, because I mean, if you compare the centers of each of these flowers, obviously this one's a lot easier to access than the one that has the double blooms. But this is the Echinacea Double Scoop Strawberry, which I believe I saw at the Ball Horticultural event that I went to. But I figured if I'm only getting one, even if they're not as good for pollinators as the other ones, I'm providing the pollinators with flowers that are more easily accessible to them too. So I don't feel too bad about that. But now what I'm going to do is I'm going to place them in the bed where I think I want them. We'll take a look, and I'm still going back and forth on the petunias because I don't know if it's going to look too bare and empty for what I want, or if I'm going to like kind of having part of the garden put away for the season, because I'm going to pull it anyway. So I either pull it now and then plant everything, or I plant everything that I have and then pull it later, which, I mean, will it disturb the roots? Maybe a little bit, but that's never really been that big of an issue for me. Anyway, let me go put these in place and then I'll have a better idea. So I think I have them laid out how I want them. So in the center I have the two black-eyed Susans, but I think I'm going to shift them just a little bit further apart. But something to think about in the fall garden is that anything you plant now isn't going to grow too much larger because the season is almost over. So for these, I can shove them all close together and they're not really going to compete for space because they'll basically stay this size, maybe put on a little bit of growth in like the next month and a half. I think our first frost date is November 1st, November 4th estimated. I don't know if I believe that, but that means we still have just about like 6 weeks left in the growing season. So I put the double scoop strawberry in the center because that's my favorite. Then I have over here the blanket flower. I didn't want to put, other than the centerpiece, like the same variety right next to each other. So then here I have the other echinacea, which is also tucked in the back. And then over here is the other echinacea. Now my plan is not to keep these here forever because this is kind of the centerpiece of my garden. I like to be able to have full control over it every year with annuals. So I'm going to leave them here now, and then either I will transplant them in the spring somewhere, maybe in a raised bed, maybe more out back, might be nice. And then because the city came and trimmed a lot off of one of our trees in the parkway, there are now some more sunnier areas down there. So I think some of these in that sunnier corner might look nice too. Also, since it's fall, I'm not completely like refreshing the raised bed. In the spring, I'll take out some soil, I'll add in compost. I'm just going to go grab, I think I have some slow release fertilizer for flowers from Proven Winners that I'll sprinkle into the holes, but that's it. I'm not going to spend a lot of time refreshing the bed for these plants when the season's almost over. So I'll go do that, and then we will start planting, and I'm excited to see how this looks, because even just sitting these here, well, let me show you. Just the amount of color right here and being able to see the color on the other side of the garden, I think this is going to look really nice. I'm going to start with the centerpieces, and I still haven't figured out what I'm going to do with the petunias yet, so we'll leave them for now. I have my drip in here, so let's get that out of the way. And yeah, I think I want you just further apart, barely touching, using my hands for measurement because that is super scientific. That seems about right. Ooh, very root bound. Oh, look at how root bound that is. Okay, I need to grab my pruners to break those up. Actually, I just grabbed a little Opinel knife. I think that'll be easier than the pruners just to slice down here. But yeah, these are really root bound. I'm gonna imagine the other one is the exact same way. There we go. Ooh, also very root bound, not a surprise there based on the other one. Yeah, I like that spacing. I feel like when I'm planting, if I can get the center roughly in place first, then it's easy just to kind of put everything else in the right spot. This one, not root bound at all, but I need to dig the hole a little deeper. Okay, I think this is the point where I need to decide if I'm pulling the petunias or not, because if I want to put this here, I probably want to plant it right here. Oh no, I don't know. Oh, I think I'm gonna do it. Okay, well, I'm going back now. Yeah, and then I can shift this over a little bit. I think that'll be good. Yeah, that spacing is better. The more of these I pull, the even more sure I am that this was the right thing to do. I like, oh, that one just came right off the root ball. I like how clean everything is looking. Oh, great, this one's kind of stuck in the herbs. See, this is when I know the end of the season is near, because the super petunias are one of the very first things I put in to the corners. And so when they're gone, it's like the end of the season is very close. Okay, so let's get this other one in the front. Well, I just had a complete change of plans. So I realized, I think instead of the tallest being in the middle, I'm going to shift them to the back, because it's not like I'm on the other side looking this way into the garden very much. So I think I'd like taller in the back, these three then in the center, and then the two smaller ones up front. So luckily it doesn't take that long to shift things around, so let's do that now. Yeah, I'm liking this much better. Well, I think she looks really cute. I'm gonna shift some stuff around now that actually, it's so funny how far back my center raised bed looks now that the petunias are gone. Obviously I can't move this center raised bed because it's too heavy, but yeah, having that space, I might just reconfigure a few different pots here. Well, here's how the bed's looking now. I rearranged a few things in here. So first of all, I moved the two salvia that were over by the herb rack. In front of here, I moved over the fern that's just been stuck in the corner, because I think now that it's getting a bit cooler, it'll be fine here with a little bit of sun. And then I pulled the floss flower from another container that doesn't have drainage, added it to the front. The only thing I feel like I'm missing is stuff on the corners here. But maybe my next step will pick up some pansies and put them in the corners there. There weren't any when I was at the garden centers yet, but maybe sometime soon. But I really like how this is coming together. And like I said before, it's nice to be able to see the other side of the garden standing here, because again, this is what I see from the inside. So now I can see basically the entire garden. And let me just bring you in closer to look at the flowers again. I did end up still resituating a few of them. I might shift this one a little bit over to the right, but I just need to take a break for a little bit and do some garden cleanups. Speaking of cleanups, over here are the petunias I pulled and then some other plants that I pulled. So I'm going to need to bag that up and get that down. But I like to leave, assuming it's not going to rain, which it's not going to despite it being cloudy, I do like to leave my garden waste out for maybe like just a day or two to dry out a little bit, because then it's easier to compact it better into a trash bag, at least from what I've found. Especially if there are any root balls, it's easier for those to dry out as well and then pack them up. So I might just leave this here for a day or two. But this is the beginning of the fall transition in my garden. So that is everything for this video. I love how those colors pop. I still think, despite what I'm learning in class, that your color palette can be all of the colors and your garden can still look relatively nice. So thank you so much for watching. I will see you in the next video. Bye.